Thank you for joining us. I have with me this evening, everyone, for our FinOp one-on-one, Mr. Julius B. Anthony. He is the founder of the Believe Project and a friend of mine. So this is
Absolutely.
a pleasure and an honor to have this conversation. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you all are tuned in. If not, you can catch the replay. But if you're here, do me a favor. Please like and share the show. Like and share the show. I'm getting some feedback. So hopefully everything in my area is muted, but I'm having trouble. Can you all hear me okay? Are you hearing me okay, Julius? Do
Yep,
you hear any
sounds great.
feedback? Okay,
No, not at
perfect.
all.
Okay, perfect. Well, please, you all, stop what you're doing. Like and share the show. Let's get into this conversation. I'm so excited to have you. Julius, thank you again for joining me. He was scheduled to be one of the panelists for our town hall, but he had a prior engagement, so he decided to do, not decided, but he graced me with his presence, child. And we are doing the one-on-one now so we can get to know Julius and have this wonderful conversation. So I'm going to stop talking. Hi, Julius.
Hey, what's up, Melva? Good to be with you tonight. And thank you for inviting me. This is great. You know I love you. So I'm just happy to be on here with you and to have some great conversation.
Yay. Well, I'm excited. So, Julius, we're going to dive right on in. I
Okay?
introduced you as the founder of the Believe Project. For those in the audience that do not know, can you enlighten us on exactly what that is?
Sure, absolutely. So I am the president and founder of the St. Louis Black Authors of Children's Literature. And the Believe Project is our core piece of work. So essentially, our mission is to ensure that all children are confident and competent readers by the end of third grade. There's a body of research that suggests that when you are on or above grade level in reading at the end of third grade, you do better in school. And essentially, you do better in life because those individuals grow up to be adults who can navigate life successfully because they're literate. So that's what the research suggests. We have some pretty damning data for our region as it relates to third grade reading. We think that Black children's literature is a definitive strategy for Black children becoming successful readers. And we need that. We need that desperately because the data is like this. Approximately 75% of all Black third graders in the St. Louis metropolitan region annually fail our state mandated reading exam. So think about that. That's 7.5 kids. I don't know how you can make a kid half. That's like 7 kids out of every 10. Think about that. And if the research suggests that you have to be on grade level in reading at the end of third grade, one, to be successful in school, two, to make it to 12th grade. To make it to 12th grade. And the kids that make it to 12th grade in a lot of communities, they're considered survivors. Because when you're not on grade level in reading at the end of third grade, the expectation in fourth grade is that you're reading to learn. So if you can't read to learn, because all the explicit instruction ends at third grade. That means all that phonemic awareness and phonics and all that kind of stuff you get early in school, that stops at the end of third grade, supposedly. And so our system is designed for children being able to pick up a book, read it with understanding. They still get some other kind of literacy skills, but the main thing is you're supposed to be reading with understanding in fourth grade. And when you can't, then what happens? You
You don't
start mentally,
understand.
no, you don't understand. You mentally drop out. You start acting up. You physically drop out by the time, at least the data suggests, kids drop out around 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade. Those are the big dropout grades. And if you make it to 10th grade, then you're sort of like a survivor and you push to 12th grade. So we're in a pretty serious situation. If 70% of the kids in our region at third grade can't read, and that translates into who you become as an adult, then there's a lot of people walking around in St. Louis that essentially are not literate people. They're not fully literate. So think about that. Here's another statistic that, and I hate to be dire about it, but this is
No,
our
please.
reality.
And that's
Yeah,
what this is for. That's what this
yeah,
conversation is about. Absolutely.
yeah. This is our reality. According to the work and the research of Vision for Children at Risk, they suggest that 90% of all Black children in St. Louis metropolitan region attend a school or a school district or a charter school in what the federal government has identified as a promise zone community. Now, a promise zone community, essentially those communities that primarily serve people that are living in poverty, are part of a working class family, or what is considered the working poor. 90% of Black children in metropolitan St. Louis attend a school or school district or charter school in the promise zone. So that means that essentially almost 90% of our families are either living in poverty or part of the working poor here in St. Louis. That's unconscionable. We all should be upset about that. We
I was
all
gonna
should
say
be.
so, but why do we, first of all, why don't we know that? You know
I
what I mean?
think for
Why don't we
yeah,
realize that? Why haven't we come to terms with that? And because I feel like if we come to terms with it, then maybe we could take a position against it.
sure,
Maybe we
sure,
can be upset about it. But why
sure.
is it that even though it doesn't shock me to hear that, but
Yeah,
why haven't we come to terms with that's what's really going on, and
yeah,
how it's linked to this same percentage, not the same, but how it is linked
yeah,
to the issue with literacy. Can you
yeah.
enlighten me?
There, yeah, there's several reasons why it's complex, and I won't get too deep in the weeds, but because the question you asked me was about the Believe Project. I didn't even talk about
Listen,
the Believe Project.
listen, we'll get there.
I,
We'll get there.
I haven't got all into what led to the Believe Project, but really
As we
it's
should.
complex because we have a history in this country of disenfranchising Black people and disconnecting them from reading and literacy. That's part of our history. That's part of our beginning in this country. So
Yeah.
all kind of systems have been designed, honestly, to prevent Black and brown people from being able to be successful readers, to be fully literate. Let's start there. The second thing is today we're living in an educational reality where it's highly politicized. And so when you're living under laws like No Child Left Behind, and I'm an advocate of No Child Left Behind, actually, but No Child Left Behind actually mandates that schools, public schools, and school systems publicly announce or make available the data around children learning. And they make the data available. It's on the website. Hey, if you're not literate, you ain't going there to find it.
You're not gonna find it.
And the thing is,
And you're not gonna
schools and
understand what you're reading.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
And they're not going to openly, they're not going to hold a town hall and say, hey, come and look at our bad data.
Right.
But they're fulfilling the law by making it available.
Yeah.
And so, it's one of those situations, I believe, is that in our region, and I'm just going to talk about St. Louis, I'm not going to talk about the country, and I could talk about that. But we don't have literacy advocates in that regard. We have literacy advocates that try to make sure the kids get books, and that kids have access to books and those kinds of things. But we don't have the kind of advocates that really put the real information out there, the reality, the truth out there. Because here's the thing that I've discovered about Black parents. They don't believe it's their kid.
They don't.
None of them. All of them think their kids can read.
All
Every
of them
last one
do.
of them.
And they
They think,
I didn't mean to say
yeah.
that. But I work with students and it's disheartening because the
Mhm,
reality is this. Yeah, I do pay for my daughter to go to
mhm,
Catholic school. And
mhm,
so she's reading basically on a high school level, including
mhm,
comprehension.
mhm,
But I have so many other students who are in the same sixth grade as she is, but
mhm.
they come from Riverview School District and some of the other, Jennings and things like that, Normandy, and they cannot read. No, and I mean little words like
Yeah.
forget and
Right. But here's the thing,
where.
Melba. Hold on, because I'm going to challenge what you just said. Because here's the real data. Here's the real data. In public education and private education, no matter what public school a Black child is in, whether they're in Clayton or Ladue, and you can see their data, it's public knowledge.
Mhm. Mhm.
Private schools don't really put out their data, but I've worked in private schools.
Mm.
Black children struggle in both private education and public education.
Wow.
Consider your daughter blessed. And some of that probably just comes from you pushing
And it
her and
does.
making sure she has access.
Well, this
Yeah.
is the thing. I've been, and I'm an advocate for this. And everybody in my village knows this is a truth. I've been
Mhm.
reading to my children from the womb. When I
Yeah.
found out I was pregnant with both my son and my daughter, I started
Mhm.
reading. I read the whole, uh, 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 the series of encyclopedias to my son,
That's all
and
right.
I could
That's
tell what
good.
he liked to hear by the movement. And even my
Yeah.
daughter, and I tell the story often, when she was modeling, she was what 2 or 3 years old, and the lady started reading. She just got off my lap and sat Indian style in front of the lady, like she knew it was
Wow.
it was time to read. So I think
Wow.
it does. It makes a difference. You're right. You're right. So
It
statement
does. It
redacted.
does. It does. And the only point that I want to make is that Black children struggle.
Yeah.
And why is it that they are struggling in private education, the best private schools?
Mm,
The MICD, I won't call any names. I'll say the independent schools of St.
mm,
Louis, which are your
mm,
upper crust
mm-hmm,
in the private school, private education in the region, as well as in public education and in parochial schools. Why
mm.
is that? Why we have to struggle in every situation? I think
Why?
it's because I think it's because the information, the
Mm-hmm,
text,
mm-hmm,
does not
mm-hmm,
connect to our children.
mm-hmm.
It
It
never
doesn't.
has.
You're right.
And I got some
Yeah.
data on that too.
Just like
You
the
know, so
standardized testing. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Is
Yeah.
the thing is the Children's Cooperative Center suggests that less than 6% of all the text and information that children get in public and private education tell stories about the Black or Brown experience.
Mm.
And in my experience, my own personal professional experience is less than 3%.
Mm.
Rarely. And if you get any information of the Black experience, it's always a historical figure like a Dr. King or
Mm.
Rosa Parks. And those are wonderful stories, ideas, lives that we should know about. But there's
Mm-hmm.
so much more that our community is about and does. Our families go to the zoo.
Mm. Yeah, that.
So when it's time to read a story about the zoo, why can't we get a book to have a Black family in it going to the
Yeah.
zoo?
Yeah.
They're out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
point that I'm making here is that there's research that suggests when Black children have consistent access to literature that reflects their experiences, they become more confident in themselves. And
Mm.
my organization believes that that confidence can translate into competency. That simply means that confidence can translate into a child's willingness, desire to want to read.
Mm.
And if you bring that into the classroom situation, a teacher can take that and run with it. But you got to have the desire first. You got to want. It has to make sense. It has to make some connection to you. And so it's not always just about the science of reading, which is learning that the phonemic awareness, that sound is the basic element of a word in our
Mm.
language system, or putting sounds together, talking about phonics. It's not just that. And that is important.
Mm-hmm.
but you have to want to read. You have to want to read. And so that's what our organization is about. Now I'm finally at the Believe Project. So I'm finally at the point. Where are we? 10 minutes until the call?
Look, I am mesmerized too.
What?
I am, listen, I bought the tickets for this, so I am here. I am mesmerized. I
Yeah.
love the data. I love the information because sometimes we just need repetition is our friend. Sometimes you just need
Yeah.
somebody to remind us, listen, this is
Yeah.
the state we're in.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
position we're in, and
Yeah.
until things change, until
Yeah.
there's some awareness brought
Yeah.
to it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
accessibility to this
Yeah.
information,
Yeah.
we wouldn't know.
Yeah.
We would
Because
be,
the
so yeah.
Yeah, because the fact of the matter is, if you're not literate, you're disenfranchised. It's just
Yes.
simple as that. And literacy
Mm,
is more than reading. The
yeah.
International Literacy Association defines it as viewing, speaking, listening, visual
Mm,
expression, reading, and writing. So you have to have skill sets in all of that. If you're not a listener,
yeah.
a good listener, you
Yeah.
could easily
Active.
be disenfranchised. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Because
Yeah.
somebody could be
Yeah.
telling you something, you ain't paying no attention to it at all. Walk out in the street and get hit. You know what I'm saying? You got to be a listener. And that's a skill set. That's a skill
Yeah.
set. You
Yes.
have to
It takes
learn how to
discipline.
hear. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And speaking. I can tell you from my own experience and from a lot of the experiences of successful Black people that I know. And they'll tell you, you can, as a Black person, you can get a job if you just know how to clearly articulate your thoughts because it's so rare, at least in the minds of corporate America, that they see Black people who can really articulate their thoughts.
Yes.
They'll grab you up like that. Is that fair? No.
It's
But the
not.
reality is, it's, they see it as not normal.
Yeah. They would always call my
And
son a leader. Oh, he's such a leader because he would yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and he was articulate because I taught my children to use their words. But oh, he's a leader. No, he's just. I mean, and he is. Don't get me wrong, but you don't know him, so how do you know?
right, but it's only because of the way that he presents himself and he can clearly articulate his thoughts. Now that I'm not here to disparage the language of the community because we
Yes,
code switch. I know I
right.
do. We've done some code switching in this conversation.
Haven't we though?
Yes, yes. But the point that I'm making is you have to know the language of commerce. You have
Yes.
to know the language of the broader community. You have to be able to be in any situation and clearly articulate your thoughts. If you can't do that, then you're not fully literate. That means you're disenfranchised.
Mm.
And so it comes down to just basic that. And so the Believe Project, our intention is to change that trajectory. I'm on a mission to do it. I've been in education for more than 20 years, and the one thing that has bothered me is that kids can't read. And the
Mm.
research is clear. We learn the research in our teacher education programs. We learn it in our teacher professional development. They're telling us all the time. Yet we continue to go into school classrooms, school buildings that primarily serve Black children, and we know they're not reading.
Yeah.
Somebody has
Yeah.
to do something about that. And I felt like the best way for me to do it was to come out of that system and to create my own movement to
Mm.
change that. So the Believe Project gives kids continuous access to Black children's literature as a strategy to help support them in becoming successful readers. We're building library spaces or literacy labs and community centers in schools. In those spaces, we commit ourselves to putting at least 1,000 books in those
Mm.
spaces, 80% of those books being Black children's literature. And we've been blessed because in all of our spaces, we've been able to put at least 3,500 books in those spaces.
Yes.
And 80% of those books are Black children's literature. And it's because we have had a lot of goodwill around our project. So we have
Mm.
5 great partners: Scholastic, book fairs, PBS Kids that came through 9 Network, our local PBS station. IKEA St. Louis has helped us in this project. Ready Readers and We Stories. And together they have helped me to create my vision, to have this space where Black children can be themselves. Now think about this, Melvin. Let me ask you a question. I know you're the interviewer, but I'm going to ask you a question now.
Listen, as you should.
when you were in kindergarten through third grade, name 5 books that had a Black protagonist.
You already know. And listen, I was born in 76. So
Now
but
just
they
think
didn't.
about that. Yeah, just think about
Unless
that.
unless it was like you said, like a Dr. Martin Luther King book, but I don't remember those books until I was in like the 4th or 5th grade when we started having to do more
Yeah,
projects. And I went
yeah,
to gifted school
yeah.
in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And no,
But never saw a book that had an
no,
image of a kid that looked like you or told a story about someone that looked like you.
no.
And so that does something to your psyche.
Mm,
So now just imagine that today we have 5 spaces in this city where at least the children that are part of those spaces get to see 80% of the books in that space
mm.
have images and stories that reflect them. Do you get how transformational that is?
It
That's
is.
almost like the first generation. It's
Yeah.
like the Obama effect.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
generation that is getting that experience in a public school setting.
Nice.
Now, there was one time in our community when we had the Black Panthers and they had Saturday schools, and they would introduce books like that to children, but it never caught on.
Mm, mm.
You know, we've had Black churches in our community since the plantation, but we didn't
Yes.
get no Black books.
Right.
We got Sunday
Right.
school. We got Sunday school and all of that. We did. We read, and
Yeah.
I can tell you stories
Yeah.
about Saturday night getting ready for Sunday
Yes.
school in my
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. But you
We
know,
used to,
even thinking back to Black churches, one of the things that happened a lot was they were read to or preached
true.
to. They weren't even
Yeah.
encouraged to
Yeah.
search the scripture
Ooh.
themselves.
You said
So
we're supposed to have 20 minutes. You can go.
listen, it's
Look, you're gonna take us down a whole nother stream now, Melva. Don't get me.
you already know
Look,
us.
I'm trying to build my brand. You getting ready to kill it because I'm getting ready to say something I'm probably not supposed to say.
All I'm saying, listen, we'll have to save that for an even better conversation because I'll go there with you. We can have
Right.
that
I mean,
conversation.
yeah. I mean, really, you and I
Really?
grew up in the church. We grew up
Yes,
in the church.
yes,
And the fact of the matter is, you're right. We were always read to or spoken to.
yeah.
Now, I will admit, in the church I grew up in, your reading time came in Sunday school or BTU
Hmm.
because you were
Hmm.
expected to read the scripture. That was
Hmm.
the scripture for the lesson, and you were expected
Hmm.
to read passages from the Sunday school book. But generally speaking, even when you read those things, you were told what you were supposed to get out of it.
Yes, yes,
You weren't supposed
yes.
to have no free thinking.
No,
Wasn't no
no,
free thinking
no.
in my church.
Listen, churches across
No,
America, darling.
that's right. You can read it, but you
Oh
better
yeah.
say what we say that you're supposed to say that it
Yes,
is.
it
Right,
means
wasn't no,
this.
yeah, wasn't no analyzing from your perspective. It was what the teacher
Right.
told you it was. So again, that's anti-literacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I do think that, and I know I'm gonna get in some trouble to think that the
Good
church
trouble.
is right, some good trouble, I hope. The church has been a perpetuator of
Yeah.
anti-literacy in our community. It has.
Mm,
That's just a fact.
okay.
There are some other ways in which they have promoted literacy because they
Hmm.
remember speaking is a literacy skill, and a lot of us got lots of opportunities to speak in church. I know I
Hmm.
did in my church. You got
Yeah.
the Easter speech, the Christmas speech, you got the Children's Day, you might get a speech on Children's Day. You know, you got opportunities to speak. Even if you were in the choir, you had an opportunity to get in front of the people and present yourself. And all of that is literacy.
Yeah.
But when it came to comprehension,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother. it's like we're anti-literate. Just do what we tell you that it is. Just believe what we tell you that it is. So,
Wow.
anyway, we weren't supposed to go down that route.
But you already know. I told you I want to have a good. I love a good organic conversation. So we were.
Yeah,
We were supposed to go just where we went.
yeah. Because it's a serious issue in our
Yeah,
community.
it
It's
is.
more serious than what I think that we recognize.
Exactly. That's why won't we come to terms with it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and where there are some strengths around literacy in our community, there are definitely a lot of disenfranchisement and challenges.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the reasons we haven't been able to successfully progress as we really hope that we should as a
Yeah.
community. It's because we are not fully literate. We can sing, that's literacy. We can remember them hip hop rhymes, that's literacy too. You know, but most of us are just memorizing them. We're not the
Yeah.
writers.
Right. Right. Well, we could talk about this all night, but we have a double header tonight.
Right,
So,
right.
Julius, everybody, please stay tuned, stay locked in. We have another wonderful guest this evening at 7:30 who's joining us, J. Ross. But before J. Ross TV, let me go ahead and say that. I want to throw the whole name in. But before we go, Julius, I have one more steamy question.
Okay.
What are you reading?
I'm
What are
actually
you
reading this
reading?
book called The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. And it's about the great migration from the South to the North
Mm,
and the act of liberation that Black people took upon themselves to leave the traumatic experiences of the South and travel to the North for a new life,
mm,
taking with them hope. And what's really powerful about the book for me so far is that those are the people that raised me. And I didn't really
mm.
realize that that was who raised me until, I started reading some of
Wow.
this stuff. Because
Yeah.
my parents migrated from the South to move to St. Louis in the 40s. And
Yeah.
all the
My
people that
yeah.
were, yeah, that were in my neighborhood, the parents in my neighborhood, the people at my church, all of them came from Alabama, Mississippi. They just migrated from the South. And those good old people helped to shape who I am today. And so this is a wonderful book for me. Um,
Nice. And what's the name of it again? I wanted to stream it,
the,
but I don't see the banner.
the Warmth of Other Suns,
The warmth of other
Suns.
sun. Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
by Isabel Wilkerson. It's a New York Times bestseller.
The warmth of other suns by Isabel Wilkerson. Thank you, Julius. Thank
Yeah,
you so
sure.
much. Tell us how we can find you. If we want to, are you doing anything? You wrote a book. You have a book out, don't you? A new children's book.
Yeah.
So how can we
Uh,
get the book? How can we get in touch with
yeah.
you?
You can get in contact with me on our website, stlblacauthors with an S at gmail.com. You can also contact me by email, stlblacauthors at gmail.com. My book is also on our website. It's also on amazon.com as well. Me, 10 Poetic Affirmations.
I love it. Julius, I love
Yeah.
you.
I love
You have
you
been
too.
the best. We have to talk again because listen,
Yeah,
we left it so much stuff to still be
yeah,
said. We left a
yeah,
lot on the table. So we're gonna
yeah,
have to do a little special follow-up. So
yeah.
maybe
Bring
we'll
me
meet
back.
after the holidays. As I
Sounds good.
should. As I should.
All
Love
right.
you. Thank you
Love
so much.
you.
Always a
Thank you for
pleasure.
inviting me. A pleasure to be
Yay.
with you as well. Thank you. See you guys.